This should be a sport. If so, I'd win. Hello everyone, and welcome to Nether Expedition episode 18, and today we are beginning work on the Larry Memorial Arena. The first thing we need to do is actually dig down here, so we've still got water around, and I'm still chugging back potions of fire resistance, as though they're going out of fashion. Or I suppose they're being removed in the next update. Let's see, this needs to go down 10 blocks, and then we can start work on the arena floor over in that direction. Now, I'm filming this fairly late at night, which is something I've kind of sworn off doing a lot for fair reasons, I would say, which is that I get kind of loopy if I film late at night. But also because I'm having to film this quite a bit earlier than usual. It's currently just passing over into Thursday, and I usually film on like Thursday afternoons. And the reason I'm actually filming this at a different time is because I'm not going to have my microphone over the weekend at the very least, because a friend of mine, who I believe I've mentioned before, the 8-Bit Monkey, is doing a 24-hour live stream in support of Child's Play, which seems to be the fashion these days, because I think everyone's doing that more or less. Just put some torches down here so they don't spawn, hopefully. Yeah, he's doing his big charity live stream, but his microphone is mildly derpy, and it doesn't like to record for long periods of time, so he wants to borrow mine, and yeah, I'm happy to hand it out, I guess, for the children's, because I'm a fairly big supporter of Desert Bus for Hope, which is an annual... What level am I on here? 71. It's going to be at 61 down here. Oop, that's the right button. There we go. I are elite gamer, what. But, yeah. I'm more of a fan of Desert Bus for Hope, which is a yearly marathon of quite possibly the most boring game ever conceived and made by Penn and Teller, believe it or not. Alright, a couple more down here. And that's done by the Canadian sketch comedy troupe Loading Ready Run, from whom I owe a fair deal of my current social circles, actually, including Monkey. Although, actually, I know Monkey more or less from the animation society that's at my university, because, remarkably, we go to the same university. And in fact, he usually sits behind me and wonders what the hell I'm coding and how. But, actually, there are some stories on that, I could tell. But yeah, he's doing his live stream, so he needs my microphone, so I'm recording this early so that he can actually have my microphone and I can actually still have something to release. How close to the ground are we? Not enough to kill me, but still not a particularly pleasant distance, I would say. Right. Now I need to work out where to build everything else down here. And, oh good, I do have a spare pickaxe. That would suck. Okay, I shouldn't be able to spawn this far down, but, probably best to be safe. Okay, so there are pistons here that holds up gravel. Let's just mark these with anything I happen to have to hand. There we go. And that's supposed to make it impossible to traverse here. So do I need this block here? These blocks here? I do know that this needs to go out 2 blocks. And it does that. And for the pattern, we do this, that, and that. And that creates our pseudo-hexagon, which we then round like this. See, generally speaking, certainly since coming to university, I'm a fairly frugal person. you will not believe that with what I'm about to express, I imagine. But Desert Bus tends to drive people a little crazy. For instance, I have a friend named Steve, and I know I'm reasonably certain, at least, that he reads my website, so he's probably going to see this, and he will know exactly whom I'm referring to, and presumably also what. For example, last Desert Bus, he turned up because he's... I think it's fair to say he's a little bit eccentric. Awesome, but eccentric. And he basically volunteered to do, well, a remarkable amount, very little of which should be done for a grown man with children and a wife. But, yeah, Desert Bus drives people loopy, and he pretty much didn't stop being loopy for the entire time he was there. How much of that is just Steve being Steve, I don't know. But let's see, what did he do? Oh boy. Now I have to go through the arduous task of not only separating Desert Buses in my mind, but what happened at different points in them. Because Desert Bus is a marathon with no end, basically. Oop, guest balls. Oh, those will be some of the ones I batted back. Basically, as long as they get enough donations, they don't stop actually marathoning. And the amount that they have to, like, you pay like $1 in the first hour or so, and that buys the next hour. The next hour costs 2, and so on and so forth. And I believe it's actually like mathematic or something, but that's the basic gist of it. And whoop, this cannot be lined up right. Oh, of course it isn't, because I got here. Right, there we go. That makes a bit more sense. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, every successive hour of Desert Bus costs more money to get them to go to the next hour. So eventually, by the time that they get to, say, day 3, the next hour is so expensive that it becomes almost a challenge accepted kind of scenario, wherein it takes so much to get them to play the next hour. And I'm out of stairs. That means I've just run out of the harvested stairs that I've actually accrued. I believe this needs to be 3 long. I'm not sure specifically. I guess I'll check the size when I'm finished with this. I need a way out or a way down. Well, I have full health and full hunger. This should not kill me. Geronimo! Whoa! Okay. Science bless my sense of distance. Well, generally speaking, I'm terrible for making measurements. Let's see. So yeah, but I think last year they sold. Well, let's see. Last year they had donations from Notch and they had donations from Steve. Steve, I should mention, is a multimillionaire. And he's also with his sister Ash Vickers. He's the part of the team that makes Mega Cynics, which is another webcomic, and I recommend giving them a look in. But yeah, donations from Steve, donations from Notch himself, donations from some of the guys at Wizards of the Coast who do Magic the Gathering, because the Learning Ready Run crew are huge Magic nerds, and indeed they got me hooked back on the stuff. Okay, so they got some huge donations, and one of the things they actually sold was like an uncut sheet of an uncut foil sheet of all of the rares in, it might have been Magic 2012, but it was a Magic set basically, which is a lot of cards. It was a big thing, and the person that they got that from, like via Mike Robles, I think it was, from Wizards, said that they didn't actually know how much that kind of merchandise would sell for, because it is, in fact, so tremendously unlikely that anyone will ever get it. It's like a foil, an uncut foil sheet of rares doesn't usually enter the wild. Okay, I know that's 10 blocks. I can survive this. Oh dear, it's begun. I'm getting cavalier about my heights. That's going to end badly, I'm sure. I actually need to defend this area quite a bit because, well, as you can see, part of our floors are netherrack, and that will actually break if a ghast hits it. Wait, why am I manually shifting? I have a button specifically for this purpose. Right. Whoop, that's not good. Slight problem with the game is if you press your, if you enter your inventory, or indeed enter any inventory while you're shifting, it stops you shifting even if you're still holding the button. A little bit of a pain. Okay. There we go. But yeah, they every year that it seems to get crazier and crazier at Desert Bus, and every year they top, well, every year to date, they have substantially topped their previous year. Even though, like, almost regardless of how crazy that kind of goal seems. Like, let's see, last year, I believe they passed, well, I think they at least passed over 500,000. That might have been over 500,000 in their total, say, in their, like, total raising for, Child's Play over the years. But, yeah, Desert Bus is a phenomenon unto itself, basically. And every year I watch it, and recently every year has meant watching it during, like, actual term time at university. So, it may have impacted my studies, more or less. I imagine it will as well this year, but we shall see. Or rather, I'll see, and then I'll mope to you guys about it. But if I get a bit loopy around the Desert Bus time, which I think is around November, you will know why. Okay, I think there's another one that goes, another one of these, another one of these hexagons that goes here, and then it's one more in this direction, and then it's done for the main edges, and then we'll start putting up walls, because I don't want to get shot at. If I wanted to get shot at, I'd join the army. Yuck. Yeah. What else is going on? My mum got her motorcyclist license, and so far she hasn't died horribly, which, you know, I'm glad for. I'm good. It's good to know that my mother is capable of driving something that lacks, say, horrendous levels of safety at best, I would say. But who knows? Who knows? The air is young. And she is not. At this point, I imagine she stood right behind me, but oh well. Hey, I have to check my settings. I feel like DPI goes down there. Yep. And once again, I'm out of stairs. It is interesting, actually, to compare the, how I see the lava lake around here and how I see the lava lake in Anniver, which you've probably seen by now. But in Anniver, a lava lake is like a legitimate source of fuel. Here, it is a vicious pool of death. Yep, I'm getting cavalier. That's gonna come back to bite me at some point, I'm sure. Yeah, Anniver is going to accelerate pretty damn quickly after this next episode, actually. Do I want to mention spoilers? I'll try to bite my tongue. I have a bit of a problem. Well, I can keep a secret, but I have a bit of a problem biting my tongue on things that I am personally excited about. Just turn a stack of these. Okay, and grab a stack of that. I don't need... Oh no, not. Okay. Back we go. Now, the design of this... Actually, I can just go this way, can't I? The design of the arena floor was sort of inspired by the by a similar design that we have in the tree farm. Oh, I did not think this through. Well, actually, not the tree farm, the melon farm, the actual melon farm, as opposed to what is actually the ghast farm. Because I kind of like the idea, and you can make some decent hexagons with the cubic nature of Minecraft. Like, there's a short list of geometric shapes that you can easily make in Minecraft. Circles are a particular one. Actually, it's quite good that we got this space down here, because I'm going to need that later. I'm doing wiring for this. Yep. Bop, bop, beep, yep, bop. Yep. Okay. And I kind of like the way that it just meshes together, especially with the kind of highlighting edges that the stairs give, and holy... how did... I'm inside of it. Wow. What does Generic B likes to say? Fix your game, Jeb. Actually, speaking of Generic, he got onto the Minecraft server recently, which was an interesting turn of events, really, because he originally started Hermitcraft, his own like big Minecraft style server, because I don't want to say because he couldn't get onto Mindcrack. But that is more or less the idea. I mean, he saw Minecraft, he liked the idea, and then he made a server so he could have the guys that he liked on a server together, not unlike what Good did with Minecraft. They've actually been adding a lot of new people recently. It seems to be more of a thing that Minecraft Let's Players are getting together on different servers, because Monkey is actually on the World of Madness server. About which I know, unfortunately, very little, I'm afraid, so I can't really espouse much. One thing I do know is that they have a gigantic American flag at spawn, although that may have changed recently. Get rid of that. Because they had to reboot due to 1.3. I don't know if I have mentioned it, but there's an old server that I was on ages ago, and I was there so often I got to be an admin, even though that basically meant that I was just spawning myself in stuff because there wasn't much else to do because I was so lonely on the server. But it got reinvented into a Tekkit server, and I was tremendously amazed to find that the old map that I was on from ages ago was still there. But I was kind of horrified to find some of the old redstone I did there. None of which really worked anymore, but I've been gradually fixing that. Okay, yeah, that's how it goes. Just trying to do this largely from memory. I've got a couple of notes just on a notepad on my screen here, but they're not exactly specific. I maybe should have taken a screenshot or something. Where am I? That is interesting. I wonder if my mouse DPI goes down when I'm shifting. I don't recall programming that in. That may be something that's inherent with shifting. I'm not sure. Right, there. I kind of want to go over there and bat those things now, because ghast fireballs, I don't think we have unloaded the chunk, but ghast fireballs will lose all of their momentum if they're in a chunk when it unloads. And then you can pretty much just walk up to them and they'll not do anything, but they will reactivate the moment you hit them, because you can bat them away. We all know this. You saw me doing it at the start of this. But they'll be completely stationary, and then you can basically point them wherever you want, and you can just punch them, and they'll go wherever you want. You know what? You know what I need down here is a crafting table. I really should have brought a crafting table. Planning ahead, folks. Planning ahead. Hey, what else is in the news, I guess? Well, I suppose the biggest news right now is Curiosity landed, which is the Mars Science Laboratory. Which is an awesome piece of technology, I have to say. 1 ton tall SUV, well, 1 ton heavy SUV sized Mars rover, the largest that has, to my knowledge, ever been made, armed with a rock vaporizing laser for analyzing material contents around Mars in search of life. I think it's fair to say that we're not going to be seeing the little green men. It's like everyone has throughout history imagined these strange and bizarre creatures, like human-sized or whatever. I don't think that's going to happen. That's fair to say. If there was that kind of life on Mars, we would have noticed it by now. And we have seen nothing of the sort. But we might see microbes, we might see some bacterium and whatnot. I mean, there's a real possibility that we will actually encounter some kind of virus. I'm not sure of the likelihood that it would be able to infect humans, certainly not since the rover has no return switch. Having some nice hot chocolate this time instead of my usual tea. But yeah, I'm not really sure of the likelihood of there being any kind of life on Mars that could act as a parasite or whatever to human beings on Earth. But you never know. The main problem with a parasite and such is that it latches onto anything that could possibly sustain it in the slightest, and that's a fairly large margin for a lot of them. I keep wanting to go that way, but no, that one's not. That's going to be more of a roundabout route. But yeah, the way that they actually got the Mars rover down there, the way that they got Curiosity to land on Mars is... It sounds like something out of a Pulp Fiction book or something, because it's just bizarrely complicated. I mean, every step of it makes sense at least in the context of like the actual action of phone back in a moment. Right, sorry about that. Not quite sure who calls it. It almost midnight, but yeah, apparently someone. Let's see. Yes, I had this. Okay, plug that down in here. I've now set up temporary camp directly beneath the blaze spawner, which... Okay, I'm sure that's a great I'm sure that's a great indignity to their kind. Where was I? Right, yes. The way that the Mars rover landed was absolutely there was a guy there was like a NASA engineer I saw somewhere on the news who described it as sounding so bizarre and crazy, and I can really understand why. Because the first thing that it does is it's coming in towards Mars and it's spinning. And that spinning is intentional. That's what pretty much everything does when it's trying to land on Mars. And it's spinning mostly to maintain like a straight trajectory. I'm not a rocket scientist, so don't take my word as gospel on this. But yeah, it's doing that, and the next thing that happens is it enters the atmosphere. Solar panels first, and those solar panels are so it can maintain power during flight. Why am I using Nether? Oh god. This isn't a good sign. I really shouldn't be filming this late at night. Alright. But yeah, and then it ejects its heat shield when it enters the atmosphere, so that it can now see, bearing in mind what it's seeing is the planet oncoming at literal meddling kilometers an hour. I don't actually know what the specific speed is, but it's one of those astronomy speeds which is like so tremendously fast that you do not want to get remotely near to it on a highway. Coach J Mac can probably explain this a lot better than I can. But yeah, then it's moving really quick, so it deploys a parachute, which makes sense, up until the point where it decides to eject that parachute. And then it releases this secondary apparatus, yay, smart language, called the Sky Crane. The Sky Crane is essentially a rocket-powered... how do I describe this thing? A rocket-powered platform that Curiosity just dangles beneath. Need more. So you've got a parachute. You're ejecting a perfectly good parachute, and then you're releasing a rocket-powered platform from which your 1-ton SUV-sized rover is hanging rather gamefully underneath. Imagine wondering why I ever booked this kind of flight. And there's always something I forget. In this case, it was turning off noises on the other laptop that I have. Oh well. Yeah, so then the Sky Crane, whilst it's massively decelerating, coming to an almost dead stop in mid-air, drops the rover. Like, it lowers the rover first on cables. Really, really strong and long cables. And then it detaches those cables. It literally just drops the rover onto the ground. Which seems like a bit of a crazy scenario, really, when you're talking something that cost, it was like $7 billion, something like that. No, it was something like 2.5 billion. But suffice to say, it was an expensive task. Okay, I believe that's almost everything in terms of this arena, or at least the arena floor. And I'm thinking I'll run wires and tunnels and whatnot underneath, but that'll be for later when we have an actual reliable source of redstone. And I'll just have to deal with that, basically. I'm just going to go take a quick look at my test world, so I can remember how the rest of this outer ring goes, at the very least. So, one quick moment, and then we'll get back to discussing Curiosity. Right, terribly sorry about that, but it turns out I just recorded a whole bunch of stuff, and I didn't even actually push record. I'm an idiot. But hey, I'm your idiot. So, let's see, what was I talking about before I took that quick break? Oh boy. There, right. So, yeah, it's basically, there's Curiosity is looking for signs of life. If I'm repeating myself, I apologize. If it sounds all tremendously new, then I apologize even further. I think I had this right before. But then why doesn't that match up? That's annoying. I'm going to check this over at some point. Let's just get let's get a basic surrounding around this so that I don't wander off or something. That would suck. But yeah, Curiosity is looking for signs of life, and one particular point on the red planet, as it were, is there are huge methane plumes. And methane is a big sign that there might be life on a planet, because it can be caused by a bunch of things. Volcanoes are one option. It's also caused by things like the digestive processes of animals, and it's also caused by the rotting corpses of animals as well. Methane isn't that big of a deal on a lot of planets, except that on Mars it's seasonal. there are these huge methane plumes on Mars that turn up like every summer. I'm not sure whether it is summer or winter or whatever, but the fact that this is activated by the weather, it would seem, suggests that there is some kind of chemical on the planet that is reacting to the weather. The fact that there is a chemical that is reacting at all is kind of important, is a kind of significant thing to notice, but the fact that it's happening on a planet that has actually fairly little in the way of weather is another thing entirely. That's not meant to be there. I shall hit it with my pickaxe, and it shall go away. Right, so... yeah, and then... so, one of the things that you look for on a planet when you're trying to find life is very anomalous kind of material like that. So that's probably one of the things that I think Curiosity is checking out. But it's also looking for former signs of life, which we would most recognize on Earth as being fossils. And indeed, there are fossils likely to be on Mars, but not really fossils of complex life like you and I and the pet dog and whatnot. But complex fossils more like bacteria and such. Parkour! How's that looking from over here, actually? Pretty sweet, actually. Awesome. I need more rock. Yeah, so they'll be looking for things like bacteria, single-celled organisms, the simple stuff. Because if there was complex stuff on Mars, it's either completely subterranean to a degree that there is absolutely no surface evidence of it to date, to my knowledge. Well, there is a sign of water. Is he still around? Or if I just respawn? Holy, that... You see what I mean? That guy spawned so close to the rock that he actually suffocated. I guess I have to check up here again. Right. Is everyone alive? More or less. It's usually this side that does it. I see him bounty in there. Oh, you're good. You're good. You're fine. If there was a zombie, it'd be near the middle. You seem a bit light on the ground. Oh. And I've overshot here, haven't I? If I could try and get stone. Alright. Dinnerbone is going to be making our lives a bit of a living hell. Because Dinnerbone is working on a feature for 1.4, which is effectively the Minecraft zombie apocalypse. So, bully to that, I guess. Right. Look, man, no heads. Yeah, so where in 1.4, it seems that villagers will be turned into zombies when zombies kill them. Child villagers are going to be in a special threat because they'll turn into like small little zombies that run about 50% faster, meaning that you actually have to sprint to outrun them. So that'll be an interesting day. Hopefully that won't impact me very much, but we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, I know, there is an ice moon. I think it orbits Saturn. I'm not 100% certain because astronomy is not a subject I often indulge in. But there's an ice moon around one of the gas giants in the solar system, which has ice that is like literal miles thick. Like there isn't anything like that on Earth. But it is theorized that there is an ocean beneath that, which is, I believe, probably bigger than any of the oceans on Earth, if not all of them. And it's theorized that the heat basically the ice, the moon orbits around the gas giant, and the giant's gravity is so tremendously strong that it kind of warps the moon. So it's sort of like kneading clay or dough to make it warm, thereby resulting in the core of the moon melting, creating the ocean. And that, if you have a gigantic ocean like Earth and like that moon supposedly has, it is a huge bonus for life, because it means you've got a oxygen-rich fluid medium through which chemicals can wander about and interact. I think that'll be enough. Yep. That'll do. That'll do, pig. That'll do. And that massively increases the chances that chemicals will meet up randomly and abiogenesis, which is spontaneous creation of life. Which I guess technically means spontaneous generation was accurate. To a fault. But that's a whole other kettle of fish, as the phrase goes. But, yeah, if we find life on Mars, even if it's just, like, tiny, teeny, could barely survive, like, in the sunlight kind of life, or even just evidence of life at some point in time, it is a huge, scientific and philosophical ramification issue as far as we humans go. Because it means that the universe is actually probably teeming with life. I mean, it's fair to say if there's only our planet in the solar system that has life, then it might not be that big a deal. But if we then find the planet next door also has life, then we're looking at something that's not so unique, it's not so unlikely, and it in fact is quite probably very common. So then of course the question becomes, Fermat's theorem. Well, not Fermat's, it's, Carl Sagan did it. I can't remember what it's called, but it's a formula basically that's used to determine the likelihood of there being a civilization in the universe that we can contact. And it's generally thought of as being a bit pessimistic, but it'll have some huge ramifications for that, because that'll be wrong. But intelligent life, I would say, is inevitable. It's like planets were inevitable the moment that gravity was fixed. As soon as chemicals came into existence that could interact and form new chemicals, life was inevitable. I guess I'm Agent Smith in that regard. It is inevitable. Mr. Smith. Mr. Anderson. Yep. Hard to believe the same guy played Elrond. That was weird. I kept expecting him to split into millions of himself. But, yeah, if there's a bunch of life in the universe, then we're gonna have to think about how we colonize planets, and we're gonna have to think about what kind of rights we give these new species inside of our own civilization. At that point, I think we're gonna be. There's a lot of religions that have their own positions on alien life of any sort. Like the Vatican has its own chief astronomer, for example. And of course there's Scientology, which believes that, well, there was a gigantic alien civilization, and they killed a whole ton of people with atom bombs, and their souls now cling to us and are evil spirits. Yeah, Scientology's weird. But, a lot of religions kind of pivot on the notion that we are the only, like, life in the universe. Like, the Abrahamic religions, in particular, which is to say Judaism, Christianity, and whatnot, heavily hinge on the notion that we are God's favoured creations, and that we're the only things with souls and whatnot. But if we find that there's not only, other life, first we find that there's more than one planet. So Earth was no longer special, except that it had life. And we then find that there's life on another planet. Well, we have a problem with our ego, basically. Because at that point, okay, Earth is not special. Our existence is not special. We know from evolution that our form is not special already. Well, a lot of people like to say, a lot of theologians like to suspect that, God made us through evolution because we're awesome, dang it. Because our daddy in the sky told us so. And I'm going to get a lot of comments for this episode. I'm foreseeing that now. But, hang on. I skipped something here. I haven't put down the stairs. Oop, I am really low on food. Shall have to resolve that. Now, what is it the Minecraft Muse likes to say? Food break! Oh, no. Okay, I can't really do the Minecraft Muse justice, but yeah, he's a cool guy, check him out. Yoop. There we go. Alright. But yeah, the Abrahamic religions have Genesis, which says, and lo, God made light before he made anything that made light, and he made the oceans before he made anything that resembled a planet, and all sorts. But, yeah, Genesis is a messed up order sequence. Earth existed before the sun, as according to Genesis. It's a really messed up little thing. Okay, but yeah, so once we find life on another planet, having already found another planet, well, you have to consider what are the odds that anything in this is true. It's like at that point we are not God's chosen people, and we are not going to be particularly interesting so far as science goes. Have I just built one too far over? Is that the problem over here? It is. Whew. Oh, that's good. I was fretting that I'd messed something up catastrophically. But no, we're good. Okay, well, it's good. I've been rambling a lot, but we've got our arena floor down now. So next up is the walls around it. And then we can maybe start seeing about controlling this thing. But on the good news, as far as 1.3 goes, Optifine's 1.3 release is presently sitting at about 98%, which means we'll probably have 1.3 running for Optifine by the next episode. So we will then be happily sitting at 1.3, and I'll maybe drag a priest over here, I'm not sure. He can bless the foundations or something. But that's all for today. I shall catch you next time, and I shall give a link to Monkey's 24-hour live stream in the description of the video. And I hope you enjoy the sound of my mic with his voice. Balls. Right, catch you later, guys. Well, actually, no. Basically, I think that's bleeding edge. You may guess from this particular conversation that I'm a bit of a comic nerd, but still have 22 diamonds. We could make another one, but let's just check what the recipe for dark matter is. A diamond blocks, that's 9 diamonds, and a whole ton of coal, basically.